Hey everyone. So, I want to just make a video on YouTube and I'm writing a script for a video that's going to be coming soon, but I wanted to do this too because I just feel like it'd be fun and it'll be a casual thing to make. So, I'm going to be ranking all the Megadeth albums. I have them all ranked in release order from starting with Killing Is My Business to the newest Dystopia. And I want to get my thoughts on them. I mean, Megadeth is a band that I hold really dear to my heart that helped me a lot when I grew up. They're definitely one of my favorite bands. They used to be my absolute favorite for a while, but now it's Metallica. But it always goes back and forth between the two. They're definitely my top two favorite bands, which are really close to each other. But yeah, like they're a really good band. I really like them a lot, and they're a huge reason why I kept playing guitar. Okay, so I guess we'll get right into it. So, starting with Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. This album was the first album from Megadeth, and I'm going to be putting it in the B tier. I think it's a solid album for starting off. The quality really isn't that good. That's the biggest downfall of the album. Uh, it's very reverby. It sounds like it was recorded on a microphone that was like dipped in a pool, and then you take it out and then you record it. Yeah, the mixing really wasn't that great. I do really like some of the songs. I love Chosen Ones. I love Rattlehead. I love the title track, and I love the mechanics. Those are my favorite songs off the album. But this album, I really don't come back to that much, other than those songs, and I can't really just listen through the whole thing because I don't know. I'm really not a fan of the sound quality. The remastered version of it that I heard recently improved on this a lot. I think out of all the remastered versions of Megadeth's albums, the one that I do prefer of the original is Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. I feel like they did a better job with that. And I really do think it's a solid album. I don't think it's anything amazing, but I don't think it's terrible. I think it's just a good starting album for the band. Nothing special, and they only improve from here. So like for a starting album, I think this is pretty reasonable, and it's a pretty decent record. Not one I'd listen to all the way through, but like I said, it has its tracks that I really do like. Next up, we have the album that made Megadeth really popular, and people say is one of their best. Peace sells, but who's buying? And I'm going to be putting this in the A tier. Now, some of you guys might be wondering why I'm not putting it in the S tier. I'm putting this in the A tier because for me, S rank is like the absolute peak of Megadeth, and I know some people consider that to be the peak. There's some things though that just put it right outside the peak, and it's not even because the album has a lot of bad issues, like major issues. It's just because the albums I do want to put in S rank are so perfect that it's really tough to see what goes in S rank and what doesn't because it's just very minor things that separate the two. So, Peace Sells, but Who's Buying is a really, really, really good record. The title track is awesome. Wake Up Dead has one of the best riffs I've heard in a metal song. I love songs like I Ain't Superstitious and Devil's Island as well. They're really good. And it's an amazing album. It has Chris Poland giving some of the best jazz fusion solos you'll ever hear in a metal band. Um, Mustaine, like the recording quality has definitely went up since Killing Is My Business. It sounds way better. The songs are really good. Um, yeah, it's not one of my favorite records, I'd say. I mean, I really like a lot of the tracks off of it. My absolute favorites are in the S rank, but it's a really good record, and I definitely recommend it to somebody if they want to get into Megadeth. Has some really good songs like the ones I mentioned before, and yeah, I mean, it's a great record. Like I said, though, it just doesn't make S rank because I just think that there's some albums that are just so perfect that I gotta put them in their own category. But Peace Sells is a great record. So next we have So Far, So Good, So What. Uh, I'm going to be putting this also in the A tier with Peace Sells, but Who's Buying. I'm putting this here because it has some really good songs as well. I feel like In My Darkest Hour is one of the best Megadeth songs, and the fact that it is a tribute to Cliff Burton just makes the song that much more enjoyable for me to listen to, and like more, I maybe not enjoyable to say, but like more, I don't know, like it gives me a deeper meaning of the song that I appreciate more. I appreciate the song more because of that, and it's a really good song. Um, that 502 is really good. Set the World Afire and Into the Lungs of Hell. Hook in Mouth is an excellent song, very, very underrated Megadeth song. And yeah, this album has a lot of great songs on it. Um, it's not an album I really come back to that much though. Peace Sells I come back to every now and then, but like this album I don't really come back to that much. Like if there's a song in my metal playlist and I'll usually listen to it all the way through that's from this album, but I don't come to this album individually if I want to listen to metal like ever really. Maybe a few times, but yeah, I don't really come back to this album that much. It has some really really good songs on it, and yeah, I mean it's definitely a great Megadeth album. I feel like it's a step down from Peace Sells, but Who's Buying? But yeah, I mean it's definitely worth a listen. All right, here we go. The big baddie. Rust in Peace, S rank. No doubt in my mind, this completely deserves an S rank. This album is amazing. It is so perfect in so many ways that it's just so good. It's definitely my favorite thrash metal record is Ride the Lightning, but this is definitely right behind it. The amount of guitar work that's used, the crazy riffs that are in each song, Marty Friedman's amazing solos that go all over the fretboard that you've never heard anything like it in thrash metal before, Nick Menza joining the band on the drums, doing some amazing drum work. Even David Ellison with his bass has really good times where he shines. Mustaine's vocals on this album too are the best so far in the band and honestly still my favorite to this day. The songs on this album too, the title track Rust in Peace Polaris, Hangar 18, Holy Wars, Tornado of Souls, Poison Was the Cure, Five Magics, they're all amazing songs that like can compete for the hit of the album. I love every single track on this album, even Dawn Patrol. It's just such an amazing album for thrash metal, and I don't think many have come close to topping this, really. I mean, you have your early Metallica albums, you have your Slayer albums, you have some Anthrax and early Testament albums, but this album does so much right. The insane guitar riffs that are so good in each song. The quality of it is awesome too. The quality that they did, because this released in 1990, quality was amazing. But yeah, if you're a thrash metal fan, you need to listen to this album. And if you're a Megadeth fan and you're just getting into them, this is the album I'd point you to. Rust in Peace is just a masterpiece all around, and definitely one of the greatest metal albums ever made. So, Countdown to Extinction we have next, and I'm going to be putting this in the A rank. Countdown to Extinction has Megadeth's biggest song ever on the album being Symphony of Destruction, and it is a really good song. It's the first Megadeth song I've ever heard, but once you get into more of Megadeth's discography, it's like Metallica with Enter Sandman, where it's usually the first song you hear from the band and you like it, but when you go deeper into the band and listen to a lot more of their discography, you realize that like 95% of their discography is better than like the song that introduced you to the band. This also has Sweating Bullets on it, which is really a really big Megadeth song, which is honestly my favorite from the album. It was the first Megadeth song that like really really got me into Megadeth. And yeah, I mean the album has a lot of good songs. It has Psychotron, it has what else it has? The title track's pretty good. High Speed Dirt is amazing, but I'm putting this in the A rank just because that while it has a lot of really high points on the album, the only thing I can't really say about this album positive is like So Far So Good So What, I don't really come back to it that much, and I really can't describe this, but there's something about how this album is recorded that I'm not saying I don't like, but I feel kind of strange. And I really can't pinpoint what it is because I'm pretty sure it's recorded in the exact same quality as Rust in Peace was. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good record. Not one I come back to as much. Like So Far So Good So What, I really don't come back to it that much. And it has really good songs on it that are very good. If you want to show like I know I said earlier I would show them Rust in Peace. While it does have Holy Wars and Hangar 18, a lot of songs like people who don't listen to Megadeth would know. while Countdown to Extinction also has songs like Sweating Bullets and Symphony of Destruction that I think are more mainstream in that regard. I mean, I guess like I would recommend them this album as well, but I don't know. I mean, it's a good album, just not one I come back to that much. And I really do like there are some songs on I do listen to a lot, like High Speed Dirt is just I think is probably my favorite song on the whole album. But yeah, it's not one I come back to that much, even though it is regarded as one of their best by many fans, and it is really, really, really good. Just like not like I have Rust in Peace up here because I hold that really dear to me, and this just doesn't have the same effect on me. But really good album. Next, we have Euthanasia, and this actually might be kind of controversial, but I'm going to put this in S rank. I was not crazy about this album when I first heard it. I thought it was so different from everything else I've heard of Megadeth. Even their newer stuff that's listed down here, I thought was very, very different. It wasn't thrash metal, really. It was really slow on a lot of songs. And I really didn't like it because of that. But when time went on, I gave the album another chance, and I fell in love with it. Every track on the album I love. I love the title track. I love Train of Consequences. I love Black Curtains. I love Blood of Heroes. And I honestly like I love every track. Victory is probably another one of Megadeth's most underrated songs because the song is literally just about all of Megadeth's biggest hits in that song, and it's just amazing how they incorporate them all. And this album too also has amazing guitar work by Marty Friedman. His solos on this album, and Rust in Peace, a lot of his solos were shredding. I mean, Lucretia, which is another amazing Megadeth song that I forgot to talk about with Rust in Peace. Lucretia is probably has in a top three, yeah, probably my top three favorite Marty Friedman solos ever, and that's on the slower side. But in this album, he has a lot of slow solos, like slowish for Megadeth, and they're just really good. I love all of them. His one in Blood of Heroes is probably my favorite on the record. Also, the solo battle between Mustaine and Friedman in Victory just like blew my balls away. It's just such a fun record, honestly. And it also has a Tout Le Monde. That's another big Megadeth song that a lot of people know, and it's a really good song. Even though it is like acoustic, it's like a metal ballad, and it's just really good. Euthanasia, I know a lot of people just don't like it, and it's understandable. I didn't like it beforehand, but I really do like it. And if I had someone who just liked rock, like classic rock, I would recommend them Euthanasia. I mean, it's just such a good album. It has a lot of really great tracks on it. Guitar work is great, while not super fast a lot of the times, like Rust in Peace. It's just really, really good. The riffs are so good. Mustaine's vocals are really, really good on this album as well. Yeah, I'd say this is another album where his vocals really shine. Uh, yeah, guitar work, Marty Friedman was excellent soloing, and yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite Megadeth albums, no doubt. It's just very, very good, very, very amazing album. Next, we have Cryptic Writings, and this is the first time I'm going to be putting something in the D rank because I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is the first Megadeth album where I did not like at all. I kind of liked Trust, but I really don't like this album that much. I can't even name a lot of the tracks off the top of my head because I listened through it once and like they were all. I just didn't like it. It was just very uh, forgettable, and the only song I remember was Trust, which is a decent song, but not one that I really would expect to hear from Megadeth. And I know I said stuff about Euthanasia, but it still had that Megadeth charm. This just like I don't know. It was very it got more mainstream and poppy, I'd say, with this album. And the next album doesn't really follow with that as well. Like the next album like kind of goes against that as well. But so I'm going to be putting this also in the D rank with Cryptic Writings. So, yeah, I mean, Risk, people say, is Megadeth's lowest point, and it's completely understandable. I'm gonna be honest, I actually really do like Crush 'em, even though it does sound like something you'd hear in like an 80s techno movie, which is very, yeah. I can't believe I'm saying that about Megadeth, but that's how it is. But I really do like it. But the album, I don't really think is just that good overall. I think a lot of the songs are pretty bad. Insomnia is just really cheap with how they say stuff. And by the way, at this point, uh, a lot of the members of Megadeth, like, either were about to or left the band already, and you like I feel like they just weren't able to. They lost a lot of their sound definitely when the members left. Yeah, I mean, Risk really wasn't that good of a record. I mean, I don't really know how much I can say because while I know a lot about these records, I listened to these records a few times and I didn't really continue because I just didn't like them that much. They were very different in their sound, and yeah, I mean, and like different. It's okay if a band sounds different, like how Rust in Peace and Euthanasia sound different from each other, for instance. But like, I just don't think the songwriting was really that amazing. Like, and nothing stood out really to me. It just seemed very basic, and it was either basic or not good for a lot of the songs. And yeah, okay, so also joining the D rank is The World Needs a Hero. While I mentioned that I thought a song or two of these were decent or like that were good and like the rest of the album wasn't good, this is the Megadeth album I never ever come back to ever. I listened to the whole thing once and I did not like any of it. I have not came back to this album since. All I can remember off my head was that there was a song called Disconnect and Return to Hangar, and I really didn't like them that much. This is probably my least favorite Megadeth record ever. And I don't know if I can say it's bad, but I mean, oh wait, no. This isn't my least favorite Megadeth record. You'll see later on. I just looked down. There's one that I dislike more than this that'll be coming up. And I think for Megadeth fans, it's obvious for what it is. But this record is just very forgettable. And while these two, like I said, can be forgettable, I like know a song or two off of them that I think is decent or I really like. I just don't like this album. I don't think it's terrible, but I don't like any songs off of it. I listened to it and I just did not like it at all. Okay, so next we have The System is Failed, and this is the first time I'm going to be putting something in the C rank, and I'm putting it in the C rank because while it does have some songs that I do like on it, being Kick the Chair, uh what else? Blackmail the Universe is really good. Like, I can't see, I'm having trouble also. I used to come back to this album like a lot a few years ago, but I haven't really picked it up since because I just kind of got tired of it, and even back then I wasn't super crazy about it. But I'd say like those two, Blackmail the Universe, Kick the Chair, uh yeah, there were some other good songs that I forget that were on this album, but yeah, I mean, it's C. I mean, you know, it's not bad. I wouldn't say it's a bad record at all, but it's not great, I'd say. I'd say it's like very middle of the road for Megadeth. They actually got Chris Poland back to do the solos. I know that the solos weren't bad. Uh, yeah, I mean, not much I can say other than I'd put it in the C rank because like nothing, no songs on it were like like god tier or anything, but it had some pretty good songs, and I mean, I had a fun time listening to it. It's just not one that like really stands out in like all of other Megadeth's discographies. Okay, so next we have United Abominations. This will be going in uh A or B tier. I'll put this in A. Yeah, I'll put it in the A tier. United Abominations is a good record. It has title tracks really good. It was one of the first Megadeth songs I learned to play on guitar. Um, what else does it have? It has Burnt Ice, which I think some people don't like that much, but I really do like it. Washington is Next is a kick-ass song. That is probably like this album. If you noticed how beforehand how like I had all like their older stuff up here, and then after they did Euthanasia, all their stuff's been down here. This album was like the best Megadeth has released since Euthanasia in my opinion. It has a lot of really good kick-ass songs on it. uh yeah, Washington is Next I think is the best song off this record. It's really good. Yeah, United Abominations. Burnt Ice. They redid a Tu Le Monde for this with the girl from Lacuna Coil, and it's not bad, but I think everybody prefers the original more, just because it's just a lot better how it works on Euthanasia than it does here. Next we have Endgame, and going in the S rank. I know some people I don't think like Endgame that much, but you could tell from like they had a very low point down here with the albums they were releasing, and then when they released United Abominations, they were starting to get back to like their old heavy like self, and United Abominations started that, and Endgame perfected that in my opinion. The title track's really good. 1320 is really good. Uh, 44 minutes is really good. It's a really good song. Yeah, I mean, the album's just really good. It has really heavy riffs. It has really good song structures and a lot. The solos are really good. Dialectic Chaos and This Day We Fight, those two songs that are the first two on the album, are amazing. And yeah, it has some really fast songs like those two, really good solos. This album, no. I think United Abominations was the one that introduced Chris Broderick, who's one of the best guitarists Megadeth has had, definitely. I don't know. I said Chris Poland was my second favorite, but it always goes like they both like hit Chris Poland and Chris Broderick play very differently from each other. But I don't know who I choose. They're both really good. Freeman's still my favorite, but yeah, Endgame was a really good album. Endgame had a lot that it did right that was missing from Megadeth for years, and it brought it back in this album. It's not like Rust in Peace amazing. Like, it's really amazing though. It's like it took the old elements from Megadeth and made something new with them, kinda. Like they got all the stuff that made Megadeth great and put it into this album, and it was like modernized. But yeah, it was a really good album, and definitely one of my favorites. Next, we have 13. I'm going to be putting this in the B tier. 13 has a lot of good songs like Public Enemy Number 1. Guns, Drugs, and Money is another very underrated Megadeth song. Uh, what else do they have? They have Guns, Drugs, and Money. They have the title track's okay. Um, Sudden Death, which was actually written for Guitar Hero, is on this album. It's really good. And yeah, I mean it's a solid record. I wouldn't put it above here because like the riffs weren't like that amazing and the song structure wasn't that incredible, but it was a pretty good record. It was a good record. I think it was a step down from these previous two, but it was good. So this is the record I was talking about, Super Collider. I don't have much to say other than the songs are all like really bad. The only song that I liked on this was Cold Sweat, which was a cover of a Thin Lizzy song, so it wasn't even their song. Uh, Dance in the Rain was okay, but it wasn't like amazing. Like it should have been way better, like that song. And the title track is one of the worst songs I've actually heard in my life. It's album and like Don't You Turn Back on It from like a lot of the lyrics were just really cheesy. One of the lyrics for this was like, when things weren't good, I know you would always be there for me, and still we tried to pretend in the end. Don't you ever turn your back on a friend. And it just felt like really out of place for Megadeth. It just wasn't good at all. The riffs were horrible. Mustaine's voice on this album wasn't really that good either. I know he's getting old, but it just really sounded like he was struggling on a lot of the tracks. And ugh, yeah, Super Collider is an album I never come back to again, and I would put it below all of these just because at least these two had something good about them, even though they like most of it was bad. This album I just never come back to, and I'm not crazy about any of the songs. This album I listened to and I was like disgusted, and I really just like I was disgusted the entire time except for that Thin Lizzy cover. Uh, I don't know. And that Kingmaker song, I mean, it was okay, but it sounded exactly like a song from Black Sabbath. I think it was Children of the Grave. I'm not a huge Sabbath guy, but I think it was a song called Children of the Grave, and I heard, I'm like, wow, this sounds exactly like it. I don't know, man. Megadeth was at a very dark time when they released this album, definitely. It just was not good at all. I remember the music video they released for the title track had an insane amount of dislikes on YouTube because people were pissed that this was going to be the new Megadeth, thinking that it was all over, that Megadeth was done, and that like this was it for Megadeth. Like they had a really good peak here, declined a little bit here, but like this was it. Then Dystopia released, and oh my god, it blew people away. This is going in the A rank. So the reason why Dystopia is so good is because it went back to the Megadeth formula of them being fast, them being heavy, them doing amazing riffs, them having just kick-ass tunes. Really, it was a huge step up from Super Collider, and a lot of people loved this album. It had such a really, 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 really kick-ass tunes, like The Threat Is Real, the title track, Death From Within, The Emperor, Fatal Illusion. The end of Fatal Illusion is probably one of the best things I've heard from Megadeth in a long time. This album I put in A rank just because at times it felt a little bit over compressed with how the guitar sounded, but I mean, and it's not an album I'd hold an S rank, but I mean, yeah, the album is really, really, really good, and I mean, I definitely recommend it for any Megadeth fan too, because honestly, this album is I think it's a pretty good starting point. Honestly, it has a lot of kick-ass tunes, and yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else I can say other than that. It's their newest record. Mustaine's voice still kind of sounds weird, but it sounds way better on this album than this. He's just getting old. Guitar work is great. The drums are great. Yeah, and it has really good songs on it. All right, so thanks guys for watching this video. I know it was probably kind of awkward just hearing me talk and banter, and I know I fumbled over my words a little bit, but I just made this for myself, really, just to share my favorite Megadeth albums with everyone. And yeah, I'll probably post more videos in the future that are pretty different from this. I'm actually writing the script for one right now, but yeah, I mean, I love Megadeth. They're definitely one of my favorite bands. I love Dave Mustaine. I love Marty Friedman. Uh, yeah, I just wanted to do this because I love the band so much. All right, peace out, everyone.